minutes ago. So hopefully it should be ready by the time we finish. And I've got some onions, some chopped tomatoes, some dry shrimps and dry fish, and the palm oil. That's how I got its name, Red Red.
Okay, so that's just a bit about what we're going to, like the actual food. The main or the other half of this whole event is also to have the conversations. So I'm going to be interviewing and just asking a few questions, mainly about her life, her background, and also cooking. So my mom is actually a trained chef. She studied in the UK. She actually came to the UK when she was 25. That is correct, the age I am now. The first question I'm going to ask is, why did you want to be a chef?
Okay. Actually, I didn't really want to be a chef. My mom used to love cooking, and she had the job of cooking and baking and everything. So I knew how to do all those things, but she didn't want me to do the chefing job. So I came to the UK and I was looking for a job. Then I saw this advertised, like, oh, they wanted chefs. And I'm like, oh, why don't I just go in and see if I could get that job and see how it goes. So that's how I ended up going into being a chef. But I trained as a secretary, and I used to work with an architectural firm in Ghana for 7 years before I left to the UK.
Okay, so chefing wasn't really the first choice. It was kind of the backup choice, but we're here now, and we're gonna start the cooking. I'm just gonna be here to be here. We're gonna start the cooking, and what are we doing first?
We have to do the sauce for the beans, which doesn't take long to cook anyway, but I'll start doing that now.
So we are actually using gas because we like using gas cookers over here in Ghana, because when they take the light, that means there's no electricity, but there's always still gas, so you can make food. What are we putting in first?
Okay, I have to put in the palm oil first.
How much palm oil is that?
Oh, just about 20 ml palm oil.
Okay. So right now she's adding in the palm oil to the pot. I'm honest, I don't know how much that is, but this is the palm oil, and like my mom said previously, this is the reason why it's called Red Red. The beans that we use are black-eyed beans?
Yes, black-eyed beans.
Black-eyed beans. So the thing about the black-eyed beans, you actually have to leave them to soak 24 hours beforehand. So these beans have been soaking in like room temperature water for 24 hours, so that when you boil it, it's already a bit softer and it doesn't take that long to boil. So as you can see, the palm oil is going on a simmer. So before we add the next ingredient, I'm going to ask my next question, which is about, how do you think cooking in the UK influenced your cooking coming from a Ghanaian background?
My cooking in the UK was a bit of an adventure for me, because the dishes we have in the UK is more English dishes. And when I started, I was working in an English kitchen. So most of the things that I had to go and cook, I didn't have a clue what it was. And I had to buy a cookery book to learn how to do those things. So I started learning how to do shepherd's pie, toad in a hole and stuff. And when I go and I see those things, I'm like, oh, I just don't tell them that I don't know how to cook it. I just go to them and say, oh, this is the way I do mine. How do you do yours? Then that's bit by bit. And I started learning how to cook the English dishes. So I worked in the kitchen for about 2-3 years before I decided now to go and start, go to a college school. I went to Southgate College to learn how to get the certificates for everything and get paid properly. So that's what I did. And the dishes were from the beginning a struggle, but later I got to know how to do everything at my fingertips. And I was good in baking and stuff, so that wasn't a problem at all.
That's very interesting, because personally, I think that English food is a lot easier to cook than Ghanaian food. So the fact that you really struggled with how to even make shepherd's pie, when you think about it, like, if you don't know what shepherd's pie is.
Exactly.
You have to learn how to make it. Somebody asked a question about, can you use an alternative to palm oil?
Yes, I normally use coconut oil.
Can use coconut oil. So this dish can be a vegetarian dish. Right now, let's say it's a pescatarian dish because we're using fish and shrimp seasoning, but you can use coconut oil if you don't want to use palm oil. Okay, so what's going in next?
The first thing to go in would be the onions.
And how many onions is that?
I just took 2 big onions.
Okay.
I do love cooking with a lot of onions, so that's the reason why. But if it's only for one person, you don't need that much onions.
So that's what it's looking like now. Oh, it smells lovely already. Okay, so whilst that is going, I am now coming to ask my next question about, so you lived in the UK, you stayed in the UK longer than you've lived in Ghana now. So what was your biggest struggle being a chef in the UK? Like, what challenges did you face?
The challenges that I faced most was, my maiden name is Mills, and when I go in to look for a job, they just think that, oh, she's a white person.
Wait, I introduced you as Aduma, so what's your English name that you use?
Oh, no, that's just a Maudlin Mills Lamptey. So normally I'll just put in Maudlin Mills or Maud Mills. So when you go in to get a job, they just assume that, oh, she's a white person, then she turns up, she's this. So I never used to get a job. I really struggled. I had to prove myself, like to work for an agency. Then when I go in and working as an agency and they see me, that's when they decide that, oh, she's okay, let's take it on. So that's the way that I was able to work in big firms. I worked in Coca-Cola, I worked in Iceland, where else? And my last job was in John Lewis in Stratford.
Okay, so that's my follow-up is, why did you prefer to work in company kitchens rather than in a restaurant? Because when people hear chef, they automatically think you're working in a restaurant. Why did you work in a restaurant, and why didn't you like working in a restaurant?
Okay. As much as I love to work in a hotel, which I did work in a hotel. They took me to hotels and stuff to work, and that was just local. But when I had to get a permanent job, I had to get something close to home because by then Leonie was little, and I had to make sure that I was very close to home, that if anything, I have to rush home. So I normally didn't have a choice. The point is, you're looking for a job, and the closest job that I got then was in Coca-Cola. And that was just like a 10 minutes drive from home. So it was good to work there, yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't so much as choice, it was circumstances. So would you like to work in a restaurant? Would you have liked to work in a restaurant if you had the opportunity to?
Yes and no. The restaurant is more like cooking. The restaurants that I worked in I was just like cooking. I was just a breakfast chef, and I had to go in a hotel and just do the breakfast all alone. And then when I finished doing that, then 10 or 11, the person comes and do the main meal. So the restaurant job was okay, but I did prefer the warehouse stuff that I cooked for, because they used to sort of like, you have a different varieties. You're all round chef. You cook, you bake, and you serve. So you're doing a bit of everything. You're not just standing at one place waiting for someone to come and order, which was a bit more boring to me. I just prefer to be always walking about, running about, getting things done, taking money from the till and everything. So it was more or less like an all-rounder. That's why I prefer to work in a big factory, warehouse sort of kitchen.
Okay. Okay, so my next question is about the actual food you cooked. So how have you, or if, because I know you have, but have you blended like British food and Ghanaian food? And what kinds of things have you been able to create, like blending the two cultures together?
Okay. I love chilies. So I always like that when I'm cooking the English food, it's a bit of boring dishes that they have. But these days, you get a lot of, where I work, there were a lot of more, the African people, there were lots of them there. And I had a lot of Ghanaians people working there as well. So I used to cook jollof rice, which they really loved. And when we have a bit of fish or something, I'll just quickly do some gravy and stuff on top the Ghanaian way, which was something that everybody enjoyed. And to be honest, the British dishes that we had, they sort of like died a bit slowly on the menu as we went along. Most people would rather buy the dishes that I would cook, like doing stir fry, the Ghanaian way, and doing a bit of shito. I used to sort of like take my own.
Wait, what is shito?
Oh, the shito is a black sauce that we have with most of our dishes in Ghana. And it's made out of this dry shrimps and dry fish and a bit of chili. That's dry chili as well, which I don't have here. So that's a bit of things that I used to do. And they actually really loved it. They really do.
Okay, so we are now, as you can see, the onions are cooking. They are simmering in the palm oil. It's looking delicious. How long would you simmer the onions for, would you say?
I like to cook my onions till it's very, very soft. So maybe about 15 minutes or so. I have to cook it till it's soft.
Okay. So that means we have time for another question. That's a lot of steam. How would you say your relationship with food has changed? Being a person who cooks for a living, how has that impacted your relationship with food? Because you then come home and you have to cook. Did it like reduce the love you had for food? Because you know how sometimes when you do something, you're 9 to 5, when you come home, you no longer feel like doing it. So how did that change?
It didn't actually change because I enjoy cooking, and it's a bit relieving when you are doing something and you enjoy it. And when I'm cooking, actually, I put a lot of passion and love in my cooking, and it shows. Because if you got a job and you are doing that job and you don't really enjoy it, there's no point doing the job. But I do enjoy cooking. So when I get home and I have to quickly cook something for my kids, it wasn't a problem. I'll always have to just do something fresh, and sometimes they have to have something that has been left over or in the fridge, which was okay.
Okay, so going on from your family life, let's go a bit back to your upbringing. How do you think that, how was cooking introduced to you? Can we just dig a bit deeper? How was cooking introduced to you, and what do you think made you really have a passion and a love for cooking? Because I do not.
Okay. Growing up, my mom used to cook. She was a catering officer. She used to cook in large scales. So whether you like it or not, when you are in the house, you have to learn how to cook. It's something that is a must. You have to get up early, bake some pies to be sold in the shop and everything. So I had to learn all these skills. It was a skill that whether I want to do it or not, Aduma, Teshi, go and cook, go and do this, go and do that. So I didn't have a choice. I had to do it. And cooking came to me naturally. It wasn't a struggle. It wasn't forced on me. And I enjoy doing it. That is the reason why that I love cooking. But I don't know why Yuni doesn't like cooking.
Please, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to speak about you. Okay. So in Ghana, how would you say cooking is different to cooking in the UK? I mean, the dishes are different, but in terms of like the process and the journey, how would you say the two differs, or if there's any difference at all?
Cooking in the UK is much easier for me because any ingredients that I want, I could easily pick it up in the shop and pick it up in the supermarket. They've got their fresh vegetables, fresh fruits and stuff, and I know where to go. I don't know if because I've stayed there for too long, so I'm used to their kind of shopping and stuff. Whereas when I come to Ghana and I have to buy something to cook, I have to go all the way. When you go to the market, you have to know certain places in the market where they sell certain things. So if I go to the market and I say, well, I'm going to Medina market, which is close, I go to the market and I'm looking for onions or tomatoes or beans or anything I'm looking for. I have to go to specific places. Or also I end up maybe like a clothes place. So you have to make sure that you know the places that you are going to pick up certain things. Yes.
Okay, so now that you've mentioned it, you've been in the UK for a very long time. So why did you decide to move back to Ghana? And how would you say you found it? And when did you move back as well for the audience?
Okay, I moved back to Ghana in 2017. It wasn't a process like, oh, I wanted to move back permanently, like, oh, let me just come and stay in Ghana for 6 months, then I'll go back to the UK, do work a bit, then I'll come back. But my kids were all grown up and I just felt like, oh, it's time for me to move back to my motherland and start something. I don't want to wait till I'm old and I'll be like, oh, I can't leave the UK now because of the medical system. Oh, I'm used to the London system, so I'm not going to get used to this Ghanaian system or anything at all. So that was the reason why I came early.
Are we adding? Okay, we're doing some more stuff.
Okay.
So I can't bring you. I'm gonna try and bring you closer. I can't bring you closer, but if you can pick up the.
Oh, okay. This is a grinding stone, which is actually older than me. And
this specific grinding stone.
And
so basically, instead of using a blender to grind, what are we grinding?
I'm grinding chili and a bit of garlic and ginger.
Okay, so we're grinding about 3 chilies, 2 pieces of garlic, and like a small bit of ginger. And she's grinding that on a grinding stone. This specific stone, which has been in our family more years than my mother, so definitely more years than me. And why would you use that over a blender?
When you use blender, you end up diluting the ingredients with a bit of water. And you don't get the natural taste of everything. So now you have to cook it more and stuff. And I haven't done this for years. And I just felt like, oh, let me just do this. I'm just enjoying doing this. It's a bit of exercise as well for the arms. Everything we do in Ghana, you do a bit of exercise with it. So when you are eating your food, you really enjoy it.
Because you've worked hard to make the food, so you enjoy the food even more. Whereas in the UK, where things are too easy, you might not enjoy the food as much because you don't work as hard to do it. Okay, so when she's done with that, she's gonna bring it closer to the camera so you can see the type of consistency that it comes under when you're using a stone. I really do appreciate when we get to see like cooking techniques like this, because sometimes, we do forget that our ancestors used very sustainable methods of cooking. As you can see, it's a stone. Like, this is not going to impact the environment that badly. It's not going to use electricity. It is a very sustainable way of cooking. And just seeing how people use things pre-electricity times. Okay, so what are we doing now before I miss the things?
Okay.
Please, when you're finished grinding, can you please just bring it closer to the camera so we can see what's happening? I'm now supporting by stirring the onions because that's all I can do. Okay, so what's going to go in next? Is it
the garlic, the ginger, and the chili?
Okay.
Yeah, so I just have to get it a bit more smoother.
Okay, so I can see that there are lines on the. Can you please show the camera the stone, like the bottom of the stone that you're using? Because even though it's a stone, there's lines on it. And does that help grind it even more?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it does.
So yeah.
So this I've just brought, taking me back memory lane.
Is it that you used to do this for your mom? Or is
No, not really.
because you had help?
We had help.
Had
To be honest.
You had employees, so you
We had employees. But sometimes, yes, I'll just like sort of like, oh, let me do this. Let me just enjoy this.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So this is the best way I could get it. Oops.
Oh, let me hold that so you can see how
The
it
ginger,
looks,
the garlic.
and the pepper, how it looks. Are you putting it inside?
Yes, I'm putting it inside. Can you pass me the
Knife?
knife? Just scrape it all in.
Let me hold this stone for you.
Gosh, this is heavy.
It is very heavy, which is why 2 people are holding it. Heavy and sustainable, and durable. That's why it's been in our family for at least 3 generations. There's probably been more generations than that. But yeah, so it smells so nice. So yes, we have. I'm saying we, but she's now added the the mix
of ginger and the chili.
And what are we going to add next?
We're going to put in the chopped tomatoes. I'm using a tin of plum tomatoes. I actually prefer that, and I've been using this for years back. Changing it to fresh tomatoes is sort of like a bit of a hassle for me. I like the taste of the tin one when I'm cooking.
That's interesting because a lot of people who are in the continent, the motherland, will say that they prefer fresh tomatoes over tin tomatoes.
I know everybody and their taste, but I do like the tin tomatoes actually.
So what we're saying is, if you want to use fresh tomatoes, you can use fresh tomatoes. But if you want to use tin tomatoes, it'll be 1 tin of tomatoes that has now gone into the stew. That's going to make our base for the beans. So while this is simmering, I have are you going to add anything else?
No, not for now.
Okay, so as this is simmering, I am now going to ask another question, mainly about a follow-up from the last one. So how have you found, you've been in Ghana for 3 years now, since 2017. It is really hot in here, if you cannot tell. How have you found staying in Ghana for the past 3 years? How have you adjusted after being in the UK for so long? You said what I said, you've been in the UK more hours, more days and years than Ghana. So how have you found adjusting?
First of all, I actually enjoy being in Ghana, regardless of all the unnecessary things like, Ghanaians, they are late to places, they are this, they are that. I enjoy being in Ghana because it's your own land and you get things fresh. You get your own, you could actually plant your own fruits and vegetables and which we do, and we just enjoy those kind of things. In the morning you get up, you get fresh cocoa, fresh mangoes and stuff. And it's quite enjoyable for me having this fresh things to eat. And one thing that I really like is dandelion. That I get it just from the garden every morning to put in my omelette or just to have it with something. And it is really nice having this kind of fresh things every day. And that is a thing that I really, really love about this place. I can actually drink coconut water every morning. And we've got nice, healthy stuff you can always have. But in the UK, there are certain things that I wouldn't get. Like buying palm oil and this kind of shrimps and stuff is very expensive in the UK. So things that are not made in the UK and sort of like they come from Ghana, you pay 2 or 3 times the price. And because you love your African dish, you just like to enjoy those kind of things.
Okay, so my next question is so just take us through the herbs and the trees and plants or fruit, vegetables and herbs that you have currently in the compound.
Okay, I've got soursop, and I've got avocado, I've got mango, I've got turkey berries, and I've got plantain.
Plantain tree.
The plantain tree, and what's about? Yeah, I've got cinnamon tree, which is just coming up, which is really good because I started planting the cinnamon tree years back. And anytime I get it like up and somebody takes it off thinking it's a weed.
Oh.
So I'm so lucky that this time I've been able to get my cinnamon tree to a certain level that I know no one is going to destroy it.
What other leaves do you have? Spinach?
I have spinach as well. I have spinach. I have pawpaw. And
what other herbs?
Oh, I've got mint and I've got oregano, fresh oregano. And I've got basil.
You have aloe vera.
Oh, I've got aloe vera. That's a lot. And
there's a lot happening on the compound of our premises, but I do love it because I feel like in the UK you weren't able to truly like fully actualize your true self. Like you were kind of restricted by living in a small flat. You don't really have you have a garden, but it wasn't anything that you can build a plantain tree. And you know how the UK climate is not really one where you can grow all of these other things. So I'm actually really happy. I'm just really happy that you have sorry, I was looking at a question. Sorry, that you have this ability to actually be your full self and cook as much as your heart desires. One of the questions was, is it just us who lives? Yes, it is just us. And that's going to be my next question. So if we could, we'd give you a tour of the compound, but it's actually really dark right now. But how did you find building a house in Ghana? Because you were only able to move from the UK because you had somewhere to go. Some people, they don't have anywhere to go. So if you could just take us through, how long it took you to build said compound, and also, how did you find that process? It's been a long time, so let's summarize it.
It's been a stressful sort of like 17 years it took me to do this, but it was a learning journey because the building in Ghana is not as easy as people make it look, because getting workers in Ghana is a struggle. They start something, they'll leave it halfway. They'll expect you to pay them more than the job they've done. And it's really, really depressing. And I just cannot take the workmen in Ghana, because when they come, nobody will ever have money to do anything. Oh, please, give me half of the money. Then they'll go, they'll come back, they say, oh, I've done this, I've done that. But hey, at the end of the day, I was able to finish everything. So here I am, 17 years down the line. I'm enjoying it now because I don't have to pay for rent or anything.
The only thing I'm saying but she's paying for is the electricity. And the other thing is that she also built her own borehole. So that means that we have access to our own water supply. So we don't have to pay for water either. So while that is a very steep investment initially, it pays off in the long run because you don't have to pay for water bills. I guess I wanted to ask, how do you feel like 17 years ago you would have imagined your life would have been like this?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
I did, because I always wanted to leave the UK because it got to the stage that I was sort of like, oh, going to work.
Wait, where are you going? Please come here. Oh. No, please bring the thing here.
Oh,
sorry, she's now coming to chop the plantain, which is the other half of the dish, is beans and plantain. So this is the easiest thing to do, the actual plantain. Yeah. So she's just chopping that now. You can chop the plantain in any way you like, whichever way you see fit, but she's going to chop it diagonally, I assume. But yes, back to the question. This is how you imagined your life 17 years ago. Wow, foresight.
I always said to myself, there's no way I'll finish doing this, then I'll sit in the UK and let somebody else enjoy the fruits of my labor. So that is the reason why that, I sort of love it in Ghana, because it's not easy actually putting up a property in Ghana, and coming over was not easy as well. It was made easier for me because I was made redundant. So that decision was not in my hands. I had money to sort of let me sit down, cross my legs, see what I have to do. What am I going to do now that I'm in Ghana? Nobody knows me that I can cook. Nobody knows me that I can bake or anything. So let me just while away the time and see. So I used to just sort of like go out most of the time. And 2019 Christmas, coming to that was the time I decided to bake some cakes. That was my first sort of business thing that I did, that it was just me doing it. And my husband helped me a lot in that one. And we baked a lot of cakes Christmas time, and I had a bit of pocket money to spend as well, so which was very good.
So let's speak a bit about the final job you had before you relocated to Ghana. So what was that like? What impacts did you make there? And yeah, I guess that really was the seed money that helped you make the final leap to Ghana.
Okay, I worked in John Lewis Stratford for 6 years. And I thank God for the Olympics, I should say, because without the Olympics, I wouldn't have got that job. And I was able to be one of the lucky ones that got the job there. And to be honest, I was the only lady that I got a permanent position there as well. So I was in the kitchen and working with all these young people who had worked in hotels and stuff, and everybody was like, they knew what they were doing. I'd come out from an industrial kitchen, and all that I did was different from what they were doing there. But I took jollof rice there, and they loved it. Even during the Olympics, they served jollof rice with chicken and salad on the menu. So I taught them how to do the jollof rice, and my head chef really loved the idea of we having jollof rice on the menu. And when we stopped in John Lewis, you had to do things seasonal. Every season they change their menu. When it's the winter season, it's changed. When it's the summer season, we change it. And it got to a stage that when we stopped doing the jollof rice, people used to even come there and have a go at us. Why did you stop doing this jollof rice? Because so it was very, very cheap. 150, just 150. What, £1.50 for a bowl of jollof rice?
Because it was considered a side.
It was a side dish.
Yeah, and the chicken was the main one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one time, I felt like my mom hasn't made jollof in such a long time. So I had to go to John Lewis just to eat her rice. And I was just like, this is not life. Why am I paying to eat my mom's rice? But you know what they say, charity starts at home, so you support any way you can. Okay, so what are we doing next?
I'm going to put the oil on. What's the time now?
Okay, so yep, it is 6:35.
Okay.
So right now she is lighting the gas for the oil for the plantain. What oil did you use?
Rapeseed oil.
She's using rapeseed oil. She would have used coconut oil, but I'm so sorry, I don't like coconut. I don't like coconut water, coconut oil, maybe Malibu, but that's about it. So for those of you who like coconut oil, you can use coconut oil to fry a plantain. It's a very healthy alternative to like sunflower oil, vegetable oil, any other oil that you want to use.
Or palm nut oil as well.
Oh yeah, some people use palm nut oil, which is why it's called red, because the plantain and the beans are supposed to be red, but it's very old. I don't want to say old-fashioned, but it's very old to make your plantain with palm oil. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very like throwback things. So this is how the beans are looking like currently. They have been literally just boiling since we started.
That's why it's very easy to cook beans.
Yeah, and this is what the base of the beans is looking like. So what are we coming to add?
That's the dry shrimps.
Okay.
So I'll just sprinkle a bit in.
Okay. So as you can see, measurements are very difficult in African dishes. People just sprinkle until the ancestors told them to stop. Okay. So what are we adding next, please?
The dried fish as well.
What fish is it? Because you're saying
it's herrings actually.
Okay, so we're adding dried herrings.
Yeah, just a little bit as well.
For seasoning, like I said, there is no measurement. So as you see, it's all trial and error in these streets. But when you are a professional chef, you just get to know measurements off by heart. So are those the only 2 seasonings we're adding?
Yes, that's the only 2 seasonings that I'm adding.
So as you can see, this is basically like 5 ingredients. 5 ingredients right here. We had the tomatoes, we had the onions, we had the mix of the garlic and the pepper and things, and then we have the seasoning. So it is very easy to make. Okay, what are we doing next before I ask you my next question?
I'll just have to put a bit of salt on the plantain. And I give it the table salt, okay. Please.
Yeah, I'm helping. Okay, so we're adding salt to the plantain. Once again, I can't say more than a sprinkle because the measurements, but not a lot of salt. Some people also don't add salt to their plantain at all because they don't like it, but you add a bit of salt just to bring out the sweetness of the plantain. Am I right?
Yes.
I do listen. Okay, so my next question is about what advice would you give to me? You know, like you said, when you were my age, you had moved across to a different country without anybody, without anyone. So what advice would you give to a young person like myself who's just trying to make it in this life, you know?
When it comes to advice, I would like to say to you that people think that, oh, these days you get a lot of restaurants in Ghana. Where you go to, you see anybody cooking food. It's very easy to get those kind of food, but it is not good to always be buying food from outside. You need to actually cook food from scratch and eat.
I don't know why you're really trying to shade me, but I was thinking, you know, life advice. You had moved to a whole new continent. The same way, if you didn't know, I am slowly making the transition to move to Ghana. I won't say back because I wasn't even born here, but my heart is in the motherland. So that is why I'm here. So I would say, what advice would you give to me as a young person trying to make it in this country of Ghana? Because, in fact, I'm even going to say the UK because low-key, you did your 20s in London. You didn't do your 20s in Ghana.
No, actually.
Like, how did you manage to survive being in London in your 20s without having generational wealth or people here to help you?
There was a time before I had about 3 jobs that I had to do 2 hours in the morning. I used to do a breakfast shift in the hotel in Enfield. Then when I finished that one, I had another job that I used to go to. That was for about 3 hours. Then I had my main job, which was 4 hours, and it was 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Ooh. And that was the time that I just had to save a lot of money because I didn't have any kids then to be childcare that I have to pay for or anything at all. So when you are young, it's very, very good to work hard and make some money and save. You don't know what the future entails. So it's actually these youngsters that have come, all they think about is buying expensive things, showing off.
Hey, please.
No. You have to make sure that you save your money for future use because you don't know when it will get to a time that you don't have a job. Like I've not been working for 3 years, just doing baking as a part-time. If I had not saved money, I wouldn't have been able to do this because when you come to Ghana, everything is expensive. I don't spend money every day in the UK, but when you are in Ghana, every day you have to spend money, whether you like it or not. Any little thing is money.
Okay, I hear that. The main thing I'm getting is save your money. But as a young person representative, I would just like to declare that we do not buy expensive. We don't all buy expensive things. We're not all like doing showy. It's hard on these streets, okay? So what are we doing now?
That's the way the sauce looks like now.
So we have a very thick kind of gravy-like sauce.
Yes.
In Ghana, gravy is like tomatoes and onions. We're not like
chili.
the brown stuff in the UK.
I just have to put in a little bit of seasoned salt. Yeah. So that's the salt in it is done, and the oil is sort of like too hot now.
Okay, so now we are coming to fry the plantain. Test if it's hot. Okay, yep. Now it is very tempting to wait until the oil is like burning hot, but this is how you burn yourself because it flattens back at you. So you have to wait that it's like before the boiling point, right? So now we are making the plantain. Yes.
You can shallow fry this, but when you shallow fry, that means you have to stand there every second to be 10 minutes all the time, which I don't like doing.
It requires a lot more attention.
So I just sort of like deep fry it.
Okay, so we're in the final quarter. We have about 15 minutes left. Everything is coming together. The beans are boiling. The beans are boiling. The plantain is frying. The base of the stew is simmering. I'm here stirring. Okay, so I have another question for you when you come back. Please come back to take the beans. You have to put the beans where?
I have to take the beans that, let me check the beans if it's cooked. Oh,
it is soft. See?
It's nice and soft.
You see? And these are the black-eyed beans, by the way. So are you coming to add it to the gravy?
Yes.
Okay. So now that the beans are boiled, literally, you're not adding it to the gravy.
I just put too much water in the beans because I just don't want it to sort of like burn.
How many? Okay, let me try and ask. How much beans did you use, if you remember the quantity?
I just used a cup, like 350
grams. 350 grams. So that's going to feed about how many people?
Ghana, they like big portions.
That's true.
So my granddaughter can eat all this alone.
Listen, she really can. So as you can see, some of the water is going inside of the gravy. Does that matter?
No, it doesn't matter. It will help it.
Okay. So you don't have to like completely strain the water from the beans. You can just add a little bit of water if your gravy is a tad too thick to help the consistency of the beans. So yeah, we're now just adding, well, she's adding the beans to the gravy.
That's it.
Okay, so you just leave it to cook.
Yeah, it's done now, actually.
So like I said, the beans is super, super, super easy to make. So technically it's done, but you know, you're now just leaving it so it really marries together and the beans really get submerged in the gravy and the stew. And as you can see, the plantain is still frying over there. So we really are going to finish this dish in good time. My next question for you is about what has been, you've spoken a bit about your time in Ghana over the past 3 years, but aside from like finding ingredients and finding good labor, what would you say has been your biggest struggle moving to Ghana that, you know, you didn't really have to deal with in the UK?
The necessity in life, like electricity. Yeah, water. Sometimes you just be there. Oh, let me wake up at this time and let's see if I'm going to get up to cook this food. The next thing you know, the light is off. So that's my main struggle in living in Ghana. But apart from that, everything is fine. So I can't complain too much.
No, for real, like, to be honest, Ghana is a very good country an African country in terms of having light in comparison to other countries. But it still is very annoying that the frequency at which we experience having no electricity is like a lot more when you're coming from the UK. But you know, after a bit, you just get used to it. You learn how to manage. You know, this is why you have gas. You have a portable fan. You always have a power bank that is fully charged because you never know if and when they will take the light. So, my other question for you about, you know, living in Ghana is, what have you really enjoyed outside of the cooking about living in Ghana?
I've enjoyed going out in Ghana. There's a lot of activities. Every weekend, you have somewhere to go to. You have this relative who's having a party, this one is having a funeral, this one is having this. So it is quite interesting. Sometimes in a day, you've got about 4 or 5 places to go to, and you have to go here, and everybody has got a dress code. So if someone has invited you to a party, now you've got to go to a funeral. You have to make sure that you take the change of clothes in your car or something, get somewhere, then you change, then you go. And it's quite interesting meeting a lot of people that you haven't seen for years and seeing them.
Yeah. Ghanaians love any excuse to throw a party, literally any excuse to throw a party. Doesn't matter if it is a Monday, today is Tuesday, you could probably go out in town and there's a function somewhere, something is happening. And when you're speaking about, you know, meeting people, I wanted to ask, how has your relationship with people differed from being in the UK to being in Ghana? Because in London, it can be very isolating. You know, you go to work, you come back, you go to work, you come back, especially if you have children and you're doing it by yourself. So how do you think your relationships have changed from one country to the other?
In the UK, you can't just get up and go and visit someone. You need an appointment, trust me. You have to call the person, oh, this weekend I'm coming to see you, is it okay? Because everybody work time is different. And majority of the time whilst I was in the UK, I used to do nights because I wanted to take my children to school. I never had a babysitter who did that for me. Like every time I have to be there for them. So that was the reason why I ended up doing a night job. But in Ghana, you can just go today, oh, I want to go and visit Aduma. She doesn't even call me. They don't even bother to even call you. Like you just go, somebody's at your door. Who is it? Oh, this friend will just come walk in. And that's very good. Ghanaians are very friendly, loving, and caring people. And anytime you come to somebody's house, especially when you come and visit me, you're always going to eat. You're not going to go with your tummy empty. Anytime somebody comes, oh, let me cook this for you quickly. I have to do this. The easiest thing to do, maybe cook rice, jollof rice, stir-fry rice, or plantain. That's our main sort of like dishes. And it's much easier to get people coming to visit you in Ghana than in the UK.
So one of the last questions I kind of want to leave it on, depending on how long we go into this. I guess I wanted to speak about mental health and well-being. So how do you think you are doing mentally, you know, in comparison in London and Accra? Because a lot of people from our communities don't like speaking about their mental health struggles, especially moving from one country to the next by yourself, isolated. There's a lot of pressure on you to work, but also you have to provide for people back home. You can't just work for your family. You're sending money to this person, you have this thing to do. So just talk us a bit about how your mental health has been in the UK and how you would compare it to how it is in Ghana.
My mental health in the UK was okay and not okay, because my last job that I did was really a stressful sort of thing. We started off like 30 chefs in the kitchen. By the time we finished, we were only about 10 left. And when people leave, they don't replace them. So whether you like it or not, you have to just fill in the jobs, do all kinds of things. And that really affected me by the end of my last year in John Lewis, that I had to go off for about 6 months with stress. And it wasn't easy at all because I was trying to do everything. When I go to work, you've got 8 hours or to do the job, but you're doing something else, they call you, do this. And I used to be an all-rounder. I like doing everything. I'll be washing up, doing the tills, doing this, doing the cooking and doing everything, which I enjoy doing. So it wasn't a big deal. But when I come to Ghana, now that I'm in Ghana and I'm working and I'm doing my own sort of job like baking and stuff, I don't have anybody standing on my neck telling me what to do. I'm my own boss. I do what I want to and I do it well. And I actually prefer being in Ghana because it's much more relaxing for me personally than being in the UK. Whereas when you have to do things here, the only problem is not getting reliable workers because they just love you to pay them, but they don't work hard, which is my problem. When I'm working, I don't like sitting down and cooking. In Ghana, it's a thing that most people like just to sit down and cook, which I find it a big problem. And I enjoy the UK in that sense that when it comes to work, they make sure that you do the work that you're supposed to do, not sort of like lazing about. They don't pay you to just come and lazy about. They pay you to do the work and you have to do it.
Mm. Okay, so you would say that Ghana overall has been better for your mental health, even if people, I mean, maybe, people are so relaxed and chilled. And I feel like that's something that we've had to adjust to, like the different working culture that is in Ghana. People are a lot more relaxed, a lot more chilled. And I do feel like that is better for your mental health. But when you have things to do, it can be very annoying. Okay, so we have a few minutes left and we're getting towards the end. It's smelling amazing in this kitchen. I wish you could smell it. So she's just taking the plantain out of
That's the plantain, nice color.
Mm-hmm. Not too light, not too dark. But you can cook the plantain however you choose to. Personally, I like it just a bit darker. Okay, so also the beans have been off. If we didn't say,
yes, I did.
The beans have been turned off. So she's now coming to arrange the plate for you to see the final product. I'm so going to enjoy this later. Okay. Fantastic.
And that's the way normally when you cook it at home, that's what you get this with the sauce and stuff. And normally when you buy it outside, they just sell the beans with no oil on it. So if you want palm oil, then you tell them, then they put a bit of it in it and it's called sumi. And they put it on the black eyed beans for you. Then you have the plantain as well. And sometimes they have the coconut oil separate on the other side as well. And you sprinkle it with a bit of curry, which is made out of cassava.
Grinded cassava.
Yeah, dried cassava. And they roast it actually. So not everybody likes curry, but without the curry, it's not yet complete, you see.
According to my mother and a lot of people in Ghana, to be honest. So yes, this is the final.
That is the plantain and the black eyed beans. Very yummy.
Red. Okay, so we are so amazing. We're looking so good for time. So we just have like 1 minute left. So I'm just gonna close this out. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for participating in our living today. Oh, they want to see the plate again.
Oh, that it is.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation and cooking this Diaspora kitchen. I hope you had an amazing time. I hope you learned how to cook a new dish. And I also hope, you know, the conversation wasn't too dry. It was actually like engaging and stuff. Yeah, so that is all from me. That's all from us. Do you have any last words, Mum?
I hope you do try out to make this black eye beans and plantain. It's one of the easiest dishes to cook, and it's very, very appetizing as well. And you would love it, trust me.
Okay, that is literally a raving endorsement from the chef herself. She's qualified, so please, her opinion matters, okay? So thank you, and we'll see you next time on Diaspora Kitchen. I think the next one we have is coming up next month, so keep an eye out from that on all of our social media channels from Ubele and also the Yale Collective, White Yale Collective. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.